Hello everyone, welcome to this edition of MeteoMark's Weather. It's great to have you on the channel today. We're going to be looking at snow. Lots of wintry precipitation as we stretch through the mid to latter half of the month. We're going to take a look and see your entire winter storm and your snowfall outlook as we got a couple of good shots of potential snow. And the polar vortex looks to push a massive surge of cold air come the middle of the month. How long will this last? And will it bring some record-breaking cold? And we'll also be taking a look at the tropics, especially the Caribbean, some heavier rain around Central America here, drier conditions up here along the northern Caribbean islands. We'll take a look at that, see if there's any more chances of rain. And don't forget, if you haven't checked out my 2025-26 winter complete video outlook, I have a link in the description down below and at the end of this video. So be sure to check that out if you want to know just how much snow and cold we're expecting this winter. Let's get into it. All right, so we're going to start off with your future radar here. Let's take a look and see what we got going on as we head into the overnight into Wednesday morning. Yeah, the midpoint of the week. Look what we're going to be looking at here. So we got a storm system that's got a lot of moisture, a lot of heavy snow on the northern edge of this dry slot here for Chicago area, Rockford, Davenport area. Now look at here into parts of Ohio. We're initially going to see that shot of snow. This is around 6 a.m., so right before the morning rush. Look at this, some heavy snow, especially the white areas and the darker blue. That's where we're seeing the heaviest snow here. And that's breaking out around Cleveland, Akron, Mansfield, down to Columbus. Newark, you're right on the edge. And then as the heavier precipitation moves in, it gets heavy, wet snow. You can see this pushes eastward throughout the day. As we stretch through 11 a.m., you can see it's going to be dependent, especially on elevation. There is winter weather advisories in effect in the interior parts of the Northeast here. You can see back here snowfall, burst of heavy snow as cold air wraps around, but it's going to be very elevation dependent, especially above 1,500 feet. That's where you're going to get the 3 to 5 inches. And then below that, that's probably about an inch or two, maybe up to 3 inches. But here it is through 3 p.m., 4 p.m., right around the I-81 corridor, Catskills, Poconos. Hudson Valley, you're into the rain, but you don't have to go too far to the west to get into that heavy, wet snow. So watch out for that. Very elevation dependent, and especially where that 32-degree line sets up. Look like a burst of heavier snow around Pittsburgh as we get right into the 8 p.m. time frame. That's heading south and east, and you can see it almost looks like a line of thunder snow. So quick inch or two blasting south and eastward here. We're going to set up those lake effect bands off Lake Michigan, Erie, and Ontario here, and Superior. So we're going to continue to watch it up here. All the Great Lakes are going to be in play. Look at that, all the way up through Lake Huron. It's just going to be quite a massively cold day as we stretch on into Thursday morning. You can see those snow showers really lining up through parts of, Ohio, upstate New York, Michigan here. And there it is, the last frame, the 11th at 1 p.m. You can see some very heavy lake effect snow bands setting up here. We're going to go over those rain or snowfall amounts. But yeah, backing up here, you can see mainly northern New England gets the snowfall as we stretch through Wednesday evening here. Rain throughout much of New York City up to Hartford, Boston as we stretch through between 4 and 8 p.m. But there it is. You can see this is going to be an interesting system, very interesting temperature profile depending on where you are. And here we are with our feature radar, HRRR snowfall as we stretch through Tuesday night, Wednesday into Thursday morning. So this is the total snowfall we're looking at, Wisconsin through Michigan here, Minnesota. Yeah, that's the band of the heaviest snow. A lot of this here into the snow belts occurs on the back side of this system. You can see western New York, western Pennsylvania, northeast Ohio. We're looking at 3, 4, 5 inch. Then we get into the 6, 7, 8, 9 inch, 10 inch totals here around Jamestown, New York. You see up towards the southern Adirondacks, Tug Hill. That's where we get into the lake effect, 10 to 15 inches. You can see around Binghamton here, we're looking at right around 1 inch in the valleys, and then 3, 4, 5 inches above that 1,500, 2,000 feet mark here. Same around Wilkes-Barre, Scranton area. We're looking, their Endless Mountains area, 2 to 4 inches, 5 inches, above that 1,500, 2,000 foot level, Catskills here. But look at the Hudson Valley, almost pretty much nothing. So you get the idea. Southern Poconos as well, you're looking at 3 to 5 inches, especially above that 1,500, 2,000 feet. In here into West Virginia as well. Johnstown, Altoona area. these highlands around here. That's where we're looking at the heaviest snow. So you're into New England as well, up towards parts of northern Maine, 8, 9, 10 inches. All right, so here we are, picking up where our future radar left off, the GFS. That storm system in the northeast pushes into the Canadian Maritimes up here. We're left with that lake effect snow. There's the next system, a burst of heavier snow around Chicago, Indianapolis through 1 a.m. on the 12th. So we're getting on into your Friday. So there it is. Maybe a couple inches. We're going to go over those snowfall amounts momentarily here as we get through the time, but it's just weekends pretty much to nothing. We've got some Gulf moisture hanging out down here around Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama. But look at this. These are Alberta Clippers just lining up here. Another one. This is just in time for the weekend, the 13th. Very fast moving. Some heavy snow breaking out around Bloomington and over to Indianapolis, Columbus area, just south of Chicago. And this actually stretches into Pittsburgh as we head throughout the day into your late weekend here, into early to mid weekend here through the 14th. There we go into Sunday. Philadelphia, Baltimore, Washington, D.C. We got some snow breaking out for you here. It's not going to be a massive storm, but a couple inches. It's quite possible. It does try to spin up here, a coastal low, but it doesn't have too much of effect here. Now look at the lake effect kicking in behind it. You got the Huron, Superior, Michigan, Erie, and Ontario all in play again. You see these tight isobars. The wind's going to be howling. You know your pain levels are going to go through the roof if you're susceptible to pain. And you can see through December 14th here into the 15th, high pressure trying to build in to shut that lake effect down. You see a lot of tropical moisture down here off the coast of Florida and then up through parts of Texas. This next system looks a little strange. On the 17th, you can see it's streaming moisture to the northeast here through the Mississippi River Valley, up through the Ohio River Valley. And then you get some overrunning precipitation up here through December 17th. So it's a mix up here into northern New England. But this system looks a lot warmer. You see the slug of moisture. You can actually see it coming off the Carolinas here and then up through the Gulf. This system's tapping into some tropical moisture, and it surges north through the 18th here, so it's going to start to erode that snowpack, so to speak. So, yeah, that we get that initial polar vortex shot in the middle of the month, and then look at this. December 21st, Christmas week, we get another surge of warmth into the Ohio River Valley, some rain, but look at on the northern edge of this high pressure to the north here. Tries to undercut it. You can see some heavy wet snow breaking out here, some mixed precipitation. But we do just start to get some convective elements here through later on December 21st. That pushes up to the northeast, and we do get that lake effect response. It's a more west-northwesterly effect as we stretch through the 22nd to the 23rd. So then, Christmas Eve, the 24th. Look what we have out here. How far to the east can we get this to stretch? Well, Chicago? Look at this. Christmas Eve, Chicago, heavy wet snow. There's our last frame. And it's kind of teasing us here. We're going to see in the coming days how far to the east this wintry precipitation can make it. And picking up where our future radar left off with our European run, you can see that storm moving into the northeast. Very elevation dependent here. There's those isobars setting up some tremendous wind for Thursday into Friday throughout the northeast. Your pain index is just going to be unbelievably awful with that pressure gradient, just howling winds. There's that next system. It's like a little Alberta Clipper, Chicago, northern Illinois through Indiana, southern Ohio here. That's where we're going to see the snow breaking out. Maybe southern Pennsylvania, parts of Maryland, South Jersey here as we head on into Saturday morning. So some light snow breaking out. Another Alberta Clipper moving through. You can see how quick it is. Burst of heavier snow in northern Illinois, Saturday morning through northern Indiana. Through Sunday morning into parts of the northeast, Pennsylvania, upstate New York, some light snow showers breaking out, maybe an inch or two. Tries to spin up a coastal. The Euro is trying to blow this up into something, so we'll have to watch out for that. There might be some chances we could get some consolidation of moisture here. It's going to be really close, so stay tuned. Those winds are going to be howling with those isobars so tight. Now, watch this as we head through the 17th into the 18th. You know it. You knew the warm push was coming right around this time. We get a couple storm systems that tap into some heavier rain right around the 19th here. little bit of cold air into the northeast, marginal for some elevation snows. This Alberta Clipper, pretty much too far to the north for anything major. Now, as we stretch through the 21st, we're getting right here into Christmas week. High pressure building in. Now, there's that storm system that was showing up on the GFS. Looks like the Euro is much quicker, more progressive, and weaker and further to the south here. But look what starts to happen. This is really, really interesting. This is really what I wanted to show you. Could get cranking here. Maybe parts of the interior northeast Christmas Eve. We may be looking at a heavy snowstorm here. Unfortunately, with a track like this, would favor warm rain here into parts of the mid-Atlantic and the northeast, but it's going to be very close up here. Look at this. This is Christmas Eve. The last frame. So we'll keep an eye on it here. Indications are really stormy for both models in this area right around Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. And look at our snowfall amounts here. Oh, this looks really interesting through the Midwest with this system. You can see up here, once it gets into the northeast, it gets very marginal with that elevation dependent. Let's just stop it right there. You can see parts of the snow belts here. A lot of this popping up behind it with the lake enhancement, lake effect, but you get the idea. There's going to be a surge of moisture up here, and you can see, especially on the north, the east side of this system initially. So some of the higher elevations here, the Catskills and Poconos, could eke out 3, 5, maybe high 6 inches. More up here into the Adirondacks, White and Green Mountains, northern Maine as well, up towards 10 inches. Now, as we stretch through time, look at that. Alberta Clipper drops. Oh, there's some pretty good snow growth here over the weekend. Look at this. Parts of central Illinois, we're looking at 3 to 6 inches. Here into West Virginia as well, we're piling up more. Ooh, look at this. This is right around, this is getting it later into the weekend. Look at parts of Ohio here. 6, 7, 8 inches. We're piling up more into western Pennsylvania here through, yeah, even into eastern Pennsylvania. We're surging some moisture. So you get the idea here. Wow, look at this. So we're getting towards that Christmas Eve type storm, and it drops more snow on top. So interior parts of the northeast into the Ohio Valley and Midwest, look at this. From northern Illinois, eastern Iowa here through Indiana, parts of Ohio, minus the snow belts here, where you're going to see 20, 30, 40 plus inches. Many of these areas are going to see the 12 to 18 inches here into the darker maroon colors, and then you get into the snow belts, and that's where you're seeing those 30, 40, 50 inch amounts. And here we are for snowfall amounts. Here it is on the GFS. So we're a little bit further to the north on the GFS as we stretch through Thursday into Friday. You can see here into the interior parts of the northeast. GFS actually going much more elevation dependent than the Euro is, I should say. So, depending on where you are, 1 to 2 inches in the valleys up here with 3, 4, maybe 5 plus inches up here into the higher elevations. Then we get that clipper moving in behind it. So a couple inches, a little bit less than the Euro was showing. So we're showing about 2 to 4 inches here as we head on into the first part of the weekend. You can see right around Saturday morning, that clipper moving down here. And then look at this secondary clipper into Sunday morning. You get that 6 to 8 inch amounts piling in here from parts of Iowa, central Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio. Still looking in here, Ohio totals in the 3, 4, 5 inch range. So that looks pretty interesting. And then we just zoom out here. We can go further out on our GFS run for snowfall totals. And there it is, right around Christmas Day. The GFS is keeping the heaviest snow up here across Wisconsin, extreme northern Illinois, and Michigan, with skipping much of the east here. So we'll keep an eye on it here. The European is further, it's actually going a little bit further south and east, which would favor more snow for Christmas. And taking a look at our polar vortex here as we continue to cruise through the rest of the month here. So looking, yeah, this is where it's focused right now. You can see as we head through late week, there is the bend in those contours, and that is ultimately where the cold air is going to surge. So as we head through Saturday, 13th, see these colors here. You can see the full cell of the polar vortex, which was over in northern Europe. It's now over Greenland and north central parts of Canada. That's going to be pushing into eastern North America as we head throughout next week. Now, look at right around the 19th. It does start to lift northward. That's where we're going to see the warming trend here across the eastern part of North America. Very high correlation to this. But I do caution you, because right around December 21st, it does start to drift. You can see these bends in the pressure contours here, the heights. And we will see another surge try to overtake parts of the east. Now look at here, 24th, 25th, as we go into Christmas, we see two cells starting to break out here. And this is where things could get interesting. So yeah, we'll see an initial rebound of some warmer temperatures along the East Coast during this time frame right around Christmas Day. But it's going to be close, very marginal. Any storm that moves up here could tap into some colder air just to the north. And as we stretch through Christmas and New Year's, we can't go a little bit beyond this, but with this split shaping up here, we could be looking at another break off of the polar vortex, maybe towards New Year's. And looking at our upper air pattern here, you can see, yeah, that massive trough as we head middle to late week here into the northeast, up into eastern Canada. We're going to kind of push these Alberta clippers. You can see them showing up here. This is a stronger one come the weekend. It's got pretty vigorous. Going to drop some widespread snow accumulations here. And then you can see a ridge does try to build in right around the 17th, 18th. Another little trough kicking in around the 19th with some stormy conditions. Now watch this as we set up. There is that energy coming out of the southern plains for our next potential system. And you can see it kind of rounds the bend, goes a little negatively tilt here. This up here, this blocking, may try to force this system more inland. We'll keep an eye on it here, but it's possible that this kicks out sooner and allows this to ride up the East Coast. An AO index here, yeah, this is what we're looking at. We're going to stay right around neutral or just slightly negative. And looking at the MJO index here, yeah, we can see some very active times right in phase 8. We're just going to kind of meander around here between 1, 8, and 7, pretty much favoring 8. Very active across eastern North America. So looking at liquid equivalent precipitation amounts on the European run, you can see through the Midwest into the Northeast Great Lakes. This is where the storm's track's going to be, especially with those Alberta clippers. We just stretched through the Christmas Eve here. Look at that. Wow, look at the Northwest. Oof, that's a lot of moisture, 5 to 10 inches of liquid. But here into the Ohio Valley Northeast, about 1.5 inches up to 2.5 inches on average. Gulf Coast right around 3/4 to 1 inch on average. So we'll keep an eye on it here. And liquid equivalent precipitation amounts on the GFS looking pretty similar to the European run here. As we go through time, you can see ultimately the 2-week totals. I know the GFS just does not want to load as fast as the Euro. There we go. Wow, West Coast, there it is. But from the Gulf Coast, especially the Mississippi River Valley, Ohio River Valley, up through the Great Lakes, this is where we're looking at solid 2 to 3 inch amounts with these orange areas close to 4 to 5 inches. So an active storm track really taking effect here. So here we are with the temperatures. As we continue to go through time, you can see for your Wednesday, December 10th here, this is what we're looking at. Heavy, heavy cold up here into the northern plains, teens and 20s. We do see that surge of warm air here, 40s briefly into the Ohio Valley before a crash back down into Thursday. You can see, look at 20s overtake. Those are going to be some howling winds as well. And we head on into Friday. Look at this. This is that polar vortex blasting down, negative temperatures below zero. Look at that. 5 to 10 below for highs. Watch this surge to the east here as we head on into Saturday. Now, it moderates a little bit, single digits down in through parts of Chicago into northern Illinois and Indiana, so it's going to be really cold here, and the winds are going to make it feel much colder. Sunday, we just spill this to the east into the 20s, low to mid-20s for highs, even upper teens here into northern New England, even 30s down in through parts of Virginia here, and much of Kentucky. So it gets really cold here, and we're just going to hang out the cold air here through Monday, December 15th. And Robert Stone from the Jamestown, New York area, the deer came back. Look at this, back from over Thanksgiving. Look at how many there were, and as you can see here, yeah, it was a bone-chilling temperatures that were pouring in, but look at this. Yeah, you can see right out on his street here. Looks like they are scarfing up some food here. Look at that. So yeah, they are hungry. They're coming down into town in a lot of areas. So there you have it. Nice captures there. Robert Stone from the Jamestown, New York area. So let's take a look at your wind outlook here. This is going to be starting to howl, especially as we get later Wednesday night into Thursday. You can see the storm pivots to the east. Here it is. These gusts are really, especially across the ridge tops, 35, 40 mile per hour gusts as we head on into Thursday. Look at the coastal areas as well. Some of these areas just off the coast, 60 mile per hour gusts. Now that pulls to the northeast. We get another surge here later Saturday. Thankfully, that's a little bit less until we get into Sunday here. This is a stronger clipper that gets going. Look at just around Delmarva, 40, 50, 60 mile per hour gusts. But here into interior northeast, 25 to 35 mile per hour gusts get cranking again. And then we get another surge right around the 18th. This should be a southerly wind in here. So you get the idea. It's going to remain very windy with each system that passes through here. This is right around the 19th. Look at this. 35 to 45 mile per hour gusts with ridge tops as high as 50 to 60 mile per hour here. So it's going to be very stormy across the region as we head towards Christmas. Yeah, watch off the coast here, because depending on what happens with this interior system, we might try to get some coastal development. And before we continue with more weather coverage, don't forget, if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Subscribe, bell notification button, smash that like button, everyone, please. It really does help. Question or comment down below. I love to respond and read to your questions and comments. And don't forget, if you haven't checked out my winter 2025-2026 Outlook, it's a link in the description down below and at the end of this video, so be sure to check that out. Let's continue with more weather coverage. And your Canadian weather outlook here as we take a look through time. It's British Columbia through Alberta here that's seeing a lot of snow. Look at here on the 10th. So as we stretch into Wednesday, burst of heavier snow along northern parts of New Brunswick. That pushes to the northeast towards the Canadian Maritimes. Rain in Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, Prince Edward Island. Starts to clear out here through much of Canada. Look at this. The exception for southwestern parts of British Columbia. But much of Canada, except the Maritimes over here, really blasting with some, wind and snow. But it seems like both coasts will be pretty active here. Look at December 14th. You can see that storm system trying to push inland here, getting into parts of Alberta. We do have some Alberta clippers coming out of Alberta here as we stretch through the next couple weeks. And this one pushes across Ontario. We have a burst of snow, but I have to say it's pretty quiet until we get to about December 17th. Then we push some rainfall with some snow here into southern Quebec and New Brunswick, and eventually over towards Prince Edward Island and Newfoundland here. Now, we get a stronger storm moving through Ontario here. This one's right around December 19th. It's going to push some warm air across the southern provinces over here, but still some snow showers eking out here as it moves up into the Hudson Bay region. A stronger storm from the plains here. This looks more like a Colorado low. That's going to push some heavy snow here into parts of Ontario as we stretch through December 21st into the 22nd, right into parts of Quebec, New Brunswick, and eventually Newfoundland here. So watch out. We have a very fast-moving flow here. You can see the last frame looks pretty quiet with the rain or some snowfall breaking out from Alberta over to Saskatchewan and Manitoba. And here we go for our Canadian snowfall amounts. Look at this. Canada is going to be getting massive snowpack. Look at the west coast here. That's where we're 70, 80, 90 plus centimeters. Into parts of Alberta, we're getting into the 15 to 30 centimeters easily. Mountains getting upwards above 50 centimeters. Look at Saskatchewan, Manitoba, through Ontario here. We're looking at widespread 25 to 40 centimeters here. Southern Ontario and Quebec, Toronto, London, Montreal, Ottawa, you're looking at way more snow than kicking off this winter than last winter. Look at northern New Brunswick as well. We're looking at widespread 30 centimeter amounts. And here we go for liquid equivalent precipitation here into Canada. It's pretty much following where the snow paths were. You can see the west coast, 2 to 300 millimeters easily. Now, stretching across much of Canada, 30, 40, 50 millimeters on average. And then here into New Brunswick, Canadian Maritime, 60 to 70 millimeters. All right, so let's take a look at the tropics here. I don't want to forget about you down here in the Caribbean. So as we stretch through time here, we'll go through Wednesday. things are pretty quiet, actually. We're going to take a look at some few showers here across the Lesser Antilles, right around St. Lucia, St. Vincent area. And that's going to move towards St. Croix and eventually Puerto Rico as we stretch through Thursday into Friday here. You can see we do have some heavier showers breaking out here with a little bit of a wave through Nicaragua and eventually Honduras here. And you can see that kind of moves over to the northwest as we head throughout the weekend. That northwesterly flow here, or I should say that southeasterly flow is moving towards the west-northwest. You can see it's kind of pushing some showers up here. Now look at where the boundary gets hung up. So this looks pretty interesting. Right across Cancun, South Florida, through the southern or northern Bahamas here, we're looking at some heavier showers and thunder showers moving through. Now, we start to try to get a little spin up here. We'll take a look at the Euro and see if that's actually a thing. But here we go. We got some heavier moisture around Belize and Honduras as we stretch through the middle of the month. Things are getting pretty active here. This looks pretty interesting, and as area low pressure tries to form off the Colombia coastline here. Don't think anything's going to come out of this, especially this time of year, but you could have some heavier showers, and they move just to the south of Jamaica through December 18th here. This does try to make a run at it, at least on this run of the GFS. Some heavier downpours around Jamaica, right around the 18th into the 19th, and that moves to the north. So we might have a little area of low pressure, a little mini low, trying to take over here. But other than that, as we stretch through the later part of the month here, as we stretch through December 23rd, 24th, this looks like an interesting feature out here. But you know, with the wind shear, you're not going to get any development this time of year. But it looks pretty quiet as we stretch through Christmas Day here. All right, so let's take a look at the European run. Thanks to Tropical Tidbits here, and we'll compare it to the GFS. So as we stretch through Wednesday into Thursday, you can see some showers and thunder showers breaking out around Central America here, Honduras, Costa Rica up to Belize, Nicaragua, Cayman Islands here, Cancun. Yeah, with that frontal boundary, it's going to focus some tropical moisture. Now, as we stretch through Friday into Saturday, you see these showers kind of moving just south of Jamaica, some heavier downpours west of the Cayman Islands as well. You can see as we stretch through Sunday into Monday, this boundary, just like I showed you on the GFS, kind of hung up here just south of Florida through the Bahamas. It's going to be the focal point of some very heavy rain around Honduras, Belize, especially as we head through the middle of the month. So both models are really honing in on a heavy rain situation here into the Western Caribbean. And you can see as we go through time, it's not really moving much. Through the 19th into the 20th, we get these surges of moisture that kind of just focus along that boundary. Through the 23rd into the 24th, you can see some showers moving through the Lesser Antilles here and just south of Jamaica. So it looks like the European keeps the worst of the weather south of Jamaica, where the GFS wants to have a tendency between the 18th and the 20th to bring some heavier rain northward. We'll keep an eye on it here. And here we are into the Western Caribbean for the European rainfall amounts, liquid equivalent. Look at this as we stretch through the weekend into next week. It's mainly going to be Central America up through the Bahamas here. Wow, look at that. Right around the 18th, 19th, 20th, there's that surge on the Euro. Euro is further to the west on this wave, bringing some heavy moisture. Let's go over those rainfall amounts. Belize, 150, 200 millimeters up to Cancun, maybe 100 millimeters. North coast of Honduras, we're right around that 125 millimeter mark. Jamaica, we're barely eking out 20 to 30 millimeters here through the Cayman Islands as well. Dominican Republic and Haiti look pretty dry, 6 to 12 millimeters. And Puerto Rico and St. Croix, you're not looking at anything more than a quarter inch of rain. Northern Bahamas up here, though, look at this. You'll see probably close to 1 to 200 millimeters. And here we go for the Eastern Caribbean European run. Some weak tropical wave moisture here, if you can call it that. It's pretty quiet here on the European run. Your 2 week totals are, some areas along the Lesser Antilles up towards St. Lucia here could eke out close to 100 millimeters, but we're stretching it here. Most areas will see 40, 50, maybe 60 millimeters on average here. And Eastern Caribbean here for the GFS, you can see kind of surging some moisture here out of the east-southeast with the trade winds. If we can ever get the GFS to load, because it's so much slower than the European run here. There we go. Let's string it along here. We'll just go 2 weeks out. There we go. So you can see the GFS wants to bring that surge of moisture here into the west central parts of the Caribbean towards Jamaica, upwards of 60 to 100 millimeters here. I'll go further west here. Look at this, though. Yeah, GFS going a little wetter here. I'm not sure if I agree quite wholeheartedly with this, but you can see eastern Puerto Rico here, 3 inches on average. And the Western Caribbean here, GFS rainfall amounts, you can see it's mainly going to be through Central America as we stretch to the 15th and 16th, but there's that surge of moisture coming out of the Colombia area in Costa Rica and eventually pushing up towards parts of Jamaica, or eastern Jamaica. There's just off the coast here, some areas close to 100, 150 millimeters. But eastern Belize here, it's pretty much unanimous, both models. We're looking at 1 to 200 millimeters in this region as well. And looking out here into the Western Pacific, yeah, things don't look too bad. In fact, pretty quiet up towards Japan, South Korea here. Maybe a little bit of a light system moving through Wednesday into Thursday. And this looks pretty heavy in northern Japan, so some heavy snow, but that moves through pretty quick. So here we go, the northern Philippines. We got a little tropical wave hanging out here. Also across South China, you're going to see some heavier rains develop here with some of these synoptic systems, in Vietnam as well. But you kind of see the stalled frontal boundary. It's kind of hung up across the northern Philippines here. This is where you can get some spin-ups along the southern tail end of the front this time of year. And we may try to get something here along the northern Philippine Islands. But look how quiet it is up here in Asia and Japan and South Korea through the 18th. Not much to speak of here. We do try to get some sort of tropical moisture surge through the 21st into the 22nd. This actually heads towards Tokyo and parts of eastern Japan by the 22nd. So a pretty big area of low pressure blasting up here. So this could be some gale force winds. And then we see another tropical wave try to take effect here right around the southern Philippine Islands. And here we are into the Western Pacific rainfall amounts. The northern Philippines so far seem to be the big winner. You can see up towards Japan and South Korea. Come the middle of the month, we get a little system moving through. But look at that. The northern Philippines, that's where you're going to capitalize on this tail end of the front with some spin-ups trying to take effect. Look at 500, 600, 700 millimeters here. Over towards Vietnam, you'll be about 1 to 200 millimeters. East coast of Taiwan as well, you're getting upwards of 200 millimeters. Northern Japan, oh, the heavy snow. Extended outlook for my hometown viewers, Binghamton, Grand Zipper, Susquehanna, River Valley, New York, and Pennsylvania. As we stretch through, we have a winter weather advisory in effect around Binghamton down to Scranton, especially the higher elevations. We'll see about 1 to 2 inches below 1,500 feet, and 1,500 feet on up, that's where we'll see that 3, 4, maybe as high as 5 inches. It's going to be scattered about, rain, snow mix at times, depending on where you are. Higher elevations, heavier snow. And then we wind it down Wednesday night, Thursday, the winds kick in, blasting upwards of 35 miles an hour. You know the drill with much colder temperatures. We try to rebound it a little bit, but not by much. We're really going to be socked in with winter. As we head into the weekend, we're going to see some snow showers, maybe an inch or two as well.
I am proud to announce that I am now an affiliate with Trilogy Maps. TrilogyMaps.com, bringing you the most digital, customizable maps found nowhere else on the internet. These maps are simply stunning. It's an advanced layering system that makes these maps great for making forecast maps with ease, or any other maps that you would like to display important information on. The resolution on these maps is simply amazing. From the detail of everything here in the States, and you can also create stunning, digital, professional layered maps from also across the entire world. And don't forget, in checkout, the discount code option, use my code, MeteoMark, hit apply, and you will get 20% off your order. So if you want the most professional, customizable, and affordable weather maps found nowhere else on the internet, look no further than TrilogyMaps.com. Link in the description down below, along with your discount code.
As always, thank you for joining me for this edition of MeteoMark's Weather. Also, don't forget to join me on Facebook at MeteoMark, also Weather Northeastern, also Twitter at Weather Eastern. Don't forget, it's MeteoMark.com. And don't forget, if you want to send me a coffee, there is a link, Super Thanks. You can smash that Super Thanks button, or my PayPal link in the description down below. You can buy me a cup of coffee. Thanks, everyone. Share that video. Subscribe if you haven't. Smash that like button.